Hello. Hi, I'm Rowan, and this is part 2 of Why Am I Such a Girly Girl? This video is going to be a little difficult to make because it's very personal. It's got a lot of intense things that happened to Mr. R's life between the ages of, I would say, 7 and probably 18 years old. This is probably the biggest influence as to why he is the way he is. So, there's something. Never get involved in a land war in Asia. No axiom has ever been tested and found to be more true than this one. And yet, it's because the United States ignored this wisdom that Mr. R was born. His very existence is a result of, and a reflection of, a failed land war in Asia. This failure set the tone for the first 10 years of his life in the United States. You see, we had just lost a war where the enemy looked a lot like Mr. R, and every backyard patriot who never traveled outside the borders of their county, let alone the country, just knew that Mr. R was the embodiment of the yellow menace that was flooding into the country to take American jobs, cause inflation, and make little Johnny look like an idiot in school. People very reasonably did not want to think about the Vietnam War in 1975. Coincidentally, the next year was the bicentennial celebration of the founding of our nation. It very quickly became the big diversion from having to think about how we had just lost this war in Asia and how we'd done that twice in the last 20 years, even if Korea wasn't officially a war. So the same people who saw Mr. R and people like him as a threat threw themselves into a fit of nationalist pride over how our founding fathers had thrown off the shackles of a villainous foreign power. They went out of their ways to show how the founding fathers were their founding fathers, not Mr. R's. Their founding fathers fought to give them rights, not Mr. R. It didn't matter that Mr. R's great-great-grandparents had traveled the Oregon Trail and settled in Idaho and eastern Oregon. All they saw was some Asian kid. They also didn't react well when they found out that Mr. R was half white. Interracial marriage had only been made legal by the U.S. Supreme Court for 9 years before his arrival in America. And even though sane, rational people understood that laws banning interracial marriage were racist, the white supremacists and ignorant bigots who were seeing a flood of dirty foreigners polluting their white country only saw that Mr. R was an inferior half-breed. So, who were these people? How did they get away with picking on some 7-year-old kid? Well, they certainly would have picked on him directly if they could. And later in his youth, he did have to deal with certain authority figures that seemed very racist. But the majority of the hatred he dealt with came from other kids. And the people who got away with putting him down were their elders. Kids may seem to be contrarian to anything an adult wants of them, but they actually absorb everything adults do and say to other adults. They learn based on how adults interact with other adults, because those interactions are real. Anything an adult tells a kid is said just to make the kid do or believe something. It isn't real unless the adult also says the same thing to another adult or treats the other adult in the same way. Kids learn, do as I say, not as I do, is not valid. Do as I say, if that is exactly what I do, is the requirement for a kid learning from an adult. At least that's the majority of it. So, Mr. R wasn't totally innocent either. He was learning the American way, which is not turn the other cheek, much like his mother would like to say. It is anything you can do, I can do better. So Mr. R did his best to give back as well as he got. She did really believe what she spoke about turning the other cheek, but unfortunately, she never did that. In her actions, she was always very fierce about what was right and what was wrong and what needed to be done to make things right. And unfortunately, that rubbed off on Mr. R very well. And that's how he got into a lot of trouble, because she wasn't always right. She was a lot when it came down to racial relations, but she wasn't always right with other things that she thought were the way you did things and the way things were. I can't help but remember that Mr. R used to love to go to the swimming pool, the public pool, every year during summertime. And then there was this one time, where he wanted to go to the pool. It was hot. It was very sunny. And his mom didn't have any suntan lotion. She never really heard of this stuff, honestly, if you ask me. But she did understand that the sun was bad for him. Well, her solution was to rub him down with olive oil. Yeah, olive oil. And that didn't go over very well. He let her rub him down with olive oil because it's his mom. You just do what your mom says. And then he went to the swimming pool, and the kids around him noticed that he smelled like olive oil, and he was kind of shiny. And honestly, he had olive oil in his skin. So yeah, they found every reason to pick on him for that. And of course, the pool staff would not let him get into the pool until he took a shower, because God forbid some kid coated in olive oil got into the pool, the highly chlorinated pool, because then there'd be oil everywhere. That would just be a mess. And I have to stand with the pool staff. They needed him to take a shower, and luckily there were showers there. But word spreads and stuff like that just doesn't help when you're trying to be an American. And that got him into trouble. That got him a lot of attention he didn't need. He was awkward enough already, but stuff like that did not help. And it seems like stuff like that kept coming from his mother. It's probably why he did his absolute best to rid himself of the culture. Some people would consider that to be a shame, but honestly, that's what he needed to do. He did everything he had to do to survive here because, he was getting into fights. He was getting into fights because he was different, and because the kids around him knew the American way, and that was all crammed into their heads by their parents. And they knew that he was a freak because, he was a half-blood American, which, there's a lot of cowboys and Indian culture in America, and I mentioned that on the first video. We were talking about how, parents dress up their kids. Well, no white American boy was ever dressed up as a little Indian. No, he was always dressed up as a rough and tough, shoot first and ask questions later cowboy like Yosemite Sam. Oh yeah, I think Yosemite Sam was a Southerner. He fought on the side of the Confederacy. Where that got him. But yes, there was a lot of that. There was a lot of indoctrination into white America. And unfortunately, Mr. R couldn't survive in white America without, becoming white and American. Something his skin wouldn't let him do. but something his attitude could make up for. And unfortunately, his attitude got him into more and more trouble, because no matter how white he became, the kids just knew he wasn't white, and that was just an act, or that was him parroting them, which to some degree it was, because, well, when they're assholes to you and you get to be an asshole back to them, it's even sweeter if you use their own words against them. But unfortunately, it led to a lot of fights. There was times where he got chased by other kids. There were times where they, this is a phrase from the 70s, they called him down after school. And that usually meant that they were going to have a fight over at the bicycle racks. It's amazing how, for some reason, at the end of school, there was never a yard duty at the bicycle racks. It's like they were just sitting there going, oh, day's over, I'm frickin' done, I'm out of here, screw those kids, I don't care what they do. That was a 1970s attitude, by the way, and one that should have been changed very quickly, because teachers are the wardens of our children, and their job isn't done until the kids are gone home, not still on the property. You think I'm overreacting? There was one fight where Mr. R took his bicycle lock and his chain and decided he was going to use that as a weapon, and he started swinging that around. Yeah, the kids decided they didn't want to fight him that day. I wonder why. And it's kind of ugly, but it's true. Kids don't understand. They only understand that somebody escalated, and you need to escalate back. And eventually, escalation will lead to very dangerous things happening. And luckily, the other kids knew to back off at that point, because if they didn't, someone would have gone to the hospital, and possibly someone would have died, because the chain Mr. R had for his bike was not light. The lock he had was not light. This was a flail. This was a dangerous weapon. He could have hurt himself just as easily as the other kids. But this is what happens when nationalism and stupidity collide. We get huge overflowing racism. People don't know they're being racist. I gotta say that probably all the kids that were doing their things, they didn't know they were being racist. They just knew they were doing what their parents did. And their parents probably didn't even know they were being racist. They were just doing what they got told was the right thing to do. Not in words so much, but everywhere in media. Yes, there was media in the 70s. We called it the boob tube. Anyhow, that's for another video. I know this was a tough video, and if you stayed this long in it, then there was something you really liked. So do like and subscribe, and leave comments, stuff like that. We will make another video where we talk about more detail. This is just an introduction to what happened in 1976, and I do hope to see you again in the near future. And until then, I hope that wherever you are, whatever you're doing, whatever time it is, you're having a great time. And I do hope to see you real soon. Bye!